Hello, everybody. I guess let me know if you can see me and hear me. Obviously, I had a technical snafu. I thought I had pressed the button to start streaming like at, quarter till, like I'm supposed to. And then I came over and I'm like, why? I'm trying to start the chat and I'm like, why can't I? Why does it say offline on Reaper Miniatures? Because me, that's why. But I guess I'm kind of in a flurry. If this is a different lamp than usual, because I ordered one of the red grass lamps on their Kickstarter a while back, and it arrived a couple hours ago. So my husband and I scrambled to, but there's not really much to put together. You put the thing in the thing, and you put it together. But we had to attach it to the desk and switch out some cords and stuff like that. So I have changed my setup, and we can but hope that we will not suffer any further technical difficulties today. So it's not on right now, so that it's not blinding, but I will put it on briefly before we switch over. So it's got the two bars. I'm hoping that's going to help you see the miniatures better. So what am I going to work on today? Well, maybe we'll just do a brief recap of what we did last week. So I worked on prepping these two figures for painting, and I will be working on one of these today. So this is Rael Rainfeather. Let's see. Quindy says that she's having a network connection issue that will hopefully be resolved soon, but for now is on her phone, so forgive her if she's slower than usual. Which slower than usual for Quindy is probably like a regular person, so I don't think we'll have to forgive too much, but it is good to know the situation. So this is Rael Rainfeather. She is the mini of the month, so the free gift with purchase one, and you can just go buy one. And she's a bard, and she has a pretty dress, so like I'm happy. Hi, Zachariah. And this is Mako the Tiki Shark, who is a fundraising miniature for the Maui wildfires. So $7.50 of every purchase goes to the charity. Wendy says that she will be much slower if she has to wrangle the evil Twitch app. Ah, yes, apps. So it's funny. I tend to like to do things via a web page if that is the option. I mean, not always on my phone, but certainly on my computer and often on my phone or my iPad. And so I joke around about hating apps because my husband works in app development. So I like to tease him about that. I mean, I genuinely don't think I need as many apps as the people who make apps think I need, but because sometimes I can just go to the web page. Then while those were drying, I worked on a skin tone test for a as yet still undisclosed project with these two guys. And this is the one that was selected, which I thought he might be, and I agreed with. And I think next week the project will be disclosed. So the suspense is not too great. Hold on just a sec. I think there must be some dust floating around my room because I had to sneeze. Despite having to wrangle the Twitch app, Quindy has put up links for Rael and makeup. So I'm going to work a little on Rael today. Oh, and let's just show you what they look like before you put primer on them or prep them, in case anyone is interested in that. The other two guys are goblins that come with some other goblins, I believe. So what I thought I might like to do today is we've got where did it go? The colored metallic triad from ReaperCon. Currently this is showing as 0 in stock on the store. I've asked Ron to check whether that's just they need to update or if they're genuinely out of stock, but I figure a lot of you have this or have some other colored metallics, or you could cook up something similar. I think if you used like adamantine black and some blue ink, or one of the, what is it, sapphire blue? I think I have it here. I pulled a bunch of them off my shelf, but like sapphire blue and some black ink, you would get something similar. So I wanted to do raven feather as feathers because I'm curious to see what it looks like. And so I was going through my miniatures and I'm like, oh, I don't really have any of the birds, and I've got like wings that aren't attached to anything, and I've got a griffin that doesn't have wings, but he's got like feathers on his head. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not really thrilled with any of those options. And then I saw this guy and I thought, well, since I've previously done a white owlbear, would it be interesting to do a black owlbear and do the feather parts as if they were like raven iridescent style feathers? And then I realized that, okay, so what do I do with the fur? And I don't have the answer to that, but I think it's good when I figure out the answers on screen with you. So that will be a problem for a different show. I'm not going to worry about that too much right now. I may also try to fill some of this gap. I got my modeling paste here in case I want to do that. So I'm going to start by putting a dark coat on at least parts of these miniatures. So this is, I've done a previous show working with colored metallics. This is one of the figures. This was not, the surface areas were fairly small, but I have a wizard with a cool looking cloak and I just couldn't figure out where he is right now. Panda bear, owlbear. Interesting. Part of it is, how do you do the not shiny black? Like, blue black might be too much, like too similar to the shiny black, but then, you know, if it's warm, would that look weird? Would that be a good contrast? That's part of what I'm wrestling with. Panda bear is a very interesting idea. I don't know if it would go bananas on camera because you'd have like white and black, and that doesn't always work out that great. All right, so I was waffling between Dragon Black and Pure Black. They're not, I haven't swatched this one yet. They're not wildly different. Dragon Black is a little cooler. And since it's a raveny cool color, Quindy has popped up a link to this particular owlbear, who is kind of like a drama llama owlbear, I think. Just really wanting to emphasize the ferocity. One thing I realize now that I did not do before I started was, you know, pull out brushes that I might need. So, maybe some clinky clanky as I work on that. I apologize. Got all distracted by the whole lighting scenario thing. And I didn't think about all my usual tools. Pendrake, it sounds like there were other Twitch issues during Anne's stream and then on another streamer. So Twitch is being twitchy, is that what I'm hearing? Maybe I really did hit the button and it's Twitch's fault. Yeah, that's it. Let's go with that. I probably, you know, hit the button and then it said, "Are you sure?" And I accidentally clicked no instead of yes. And then wandered away without looking to see if the little square was green. Because getting ready tends to challenge my ability to multitask, non-existent as it is. So hopefully, apart from Twitch glitch, everybody's been doing well. And since this is a textured area, I'm just going to overpaint a little, because I suspect that I will be going with a dark fur, if not black fur. But as it's textured and I was painting fast, I'm just going to give it a very gentle air spritz. And I'm also going to check to see if I like overdid the paint. So that's a bit gloppy. So I don't mind being a little careless and putting too much paint on. I just have to check and make sure that there's not too much anywhere. I'll stick with the back for now. I guess then I have to decide what part of his head is feathers too. Let's see. Well, those seem like ears, don't they? But I know. Was that a sentence that made sense? Babachook, Anne's been having issues for a week or so. Oh my. That sounds annoying. I feel like having some shininess right there under the eye can only be good. Obviously, I will have to return to the neck feathers if I'm going to fill that gap. Or can I hope that if it's black, it won't show? Maybe we go with if it's black, it won't show. Well, I'll get that later. It wouldn't be a stream unless I drop something, I guess, right? So I don't know if the lighting on the figure looks any better than usual for you. I think it looks pretty good. Or if he's staying in focus any better, which probably doesn't have anything to do with the light, of course. So this brush I picked up is bigger than any of the ones that Reaper makes. Yeah, let's just get on, the armpit areas too. So I like these ones a lot for synthetic brushes. I think they're pretty sturdy. And they hold up to my abuse. But now I'm ruining my gray paper. Oh no, I'll have to find more. I mean, I have more. It is sketchpad paper though, it's not super cheap. I think Anne has a more efficient solution than what I do. But no one ever accused me of being efficient. Wendy cannot give any feedback on lighting via the tiny phone screen. I mean, he's a big boy, so hopefully the camera can focus on him. I should paint him orange like my big boy cat. Orange tabby owlbear, that's it. I'm just going to paint owlbears. Yeah, Trash Mom has painted this one in 3 different patterns. I'm just going to paint all the owlbears over and over again in different colors. This is now the owlbear channel. That's probably not true, but I am kind of obsessed with owlbears. So I got my baby owlbears from the Kickstarter not long ago. They're little stuffed guys. I should have brought one over. And they're just so cute, I can't even. And then, of course, I'm enjoying owlbears in Baldur's Gate. And I'm a druid, so I'm enjoying turning into an owlbear in Baldur's Gate. It is immense fun to swipe tiny guys and then they fall over. You can kind of do like a stomp thing too and shake the ground. Because you're kind of an owlbear like this. You're a beefy owlbear. I may actually have to find a brush that is messed up because sometimes the hook tip comes in handy, and this looks like one of those moments. So let's see if I've managed to correctly hook this brush. Because they don't always hook the way I want them to. So I think it's hooked kind of the way I want it to. So I'm going to use that hook to get under where the feathers overlap and make sure that I'm getting paint in there so I don't get... You know, I finish it up and then I take a picture and then there's just this like horrible glowing gray area that I missed. Kind of good for these under sections too. Getting under the hems of cloaks is one of my favorite things to do with the hook-ended brushes. Oh, this is a decent amount of real estate, and I haven't even like covered the body yet. Hopefully I have enough black paint. I'll just switch to pure black if I don't, because I got a new bottle of that recently. Which I'm kind of surprised. I mean, I guess eventually you have to use something up, but I suppose I've used it up on base rims. Like, I don't mix with black a lot, because, you know, blue liner for life. But I probably used it on base rims, which I used to do, like, kind of custom color base rims that sort of went with the color scheme of the miniature, and I think that's a fun idea. But then I travel with them some to go to conventions and show them during classes and stuff. And if it's just black all the time, then repair becomes a much easier prospect. So I went boring after a while, but I still like the idea of customizing the basement. Like, still really dark, but just, I guess, kind of like how you might do a colored matte on a painting. Trashorama just started Baldur's Gate 3 over the weekend. We were doing a multiplayer run through. It is fun that you can play multiplayer as well as single player. We've been doing it with my D&D group. Unfortunately, if we want to allow the DM to have fun for once, my husband, we're 5 people and you can only run 4 characters. So I've been, I'll sit in the room and heckle, basically. Nobody searches as thoroughly as I like to search. And that troubles me. So I'm okay sitting out and not getting twitchy about no one looked in that chest or picked up that whatever. Because I am just weirdly patient about some things and not about other things. Quindy has not played any video games since ReaperCon. Well, that doesn't seem right. Is Quindy too busy at work? Sounds like maybe Quindy's too busy. And something should be done about that. That was like the worst part of going to ReaperCon, was not being able to play Baldur's Gate 3. It's like, okay, so now I have to go away and leave my story at my group for a week. Is that what's happening here? My husband got to play a little because he plays on his Steam Deck. Well, I have done too. And he brought that, but I'm just too busy to do stuff like that at ReaperCon. Or I'd rather, you know, as much as I enjoy playing video games, I also enjoy the rare opportunity to hang out with other people, my friends and whatnot, in person. Valander has run through BG3 twice now, with 4 to 5 partial runs trying different character builds. See, that my husband did the open access, whatever it was, this kind of beta thing. And then I was like, no, I think I'd rather just do that. I'm not saying like I'll never play it again, and I do have another character, because I didn't know you could get the fire sword at the beginning until after I got past that part. And I'm like, well, dang it, now I want the fire sword. It's super cool. But I don't think I want to run through as often as some people want to run through. I do feel like, how did I not play a bard? It's especially irksome because I know that like there's all these musical instruments and you can play in the game, but you do have to pick performance, and I'm like, I don't want to play a feat on that. So this is the Ghost Vein, which I would also like to, you know, start with a darker color of matte paint under that. And for shading, so I picked out Succubus Kiss, which I like, but what else have we got? There's Wolfsbane Purple, if I want to go more purpley. I think the red brick is probably better coverage, so I'm going to do the initial coat with that. And then for the blue one, what did I pick out? Bluish one. This is a little darker than I wanted actually. But the one I initially picked up was a out of production paint, so I decided to live with this, which I almost sort of want to make it a little lighter, but we'll see. So I'll probably do 2 separate sections on her dress. Zachariah has all kinds of painting they want to do, even have a painting buddy to check and make sure the attention span of a gnat is focused on it painting. That's a good idea, having someone to hold you accountable. Sometimes even if you just think, like for a while I did a thing where I would draw or paint something non-miniature every day, and I posted it on Facebook, and it, even though I'm pretty sure nobody cared whether I posted it or not, it kept me accountable to myself, if nothing else. The initial pledge was with a group of people too, so that helped, but then I kind of carried on with it on my own. Valander's Red. They patched out my favorite sword. There was a glitch where you could pick up and even dual wield the 12-foot long swords used by the construct guards in Act 3. And patch 3 removed the glitch. Unfortunately, patch 3 has not removed the glitch where I progressed from the wilderness area to the monastery area, and I can't go back. It just crashes and dies if I try to go back. And I need a hammer. I haven't been able to find a hammer in that section. I can go forward, but I cannot go back. It is annoying. The patch, in fact, actually made it worse, because it used to be I could go back, and then I would crash going back to the new area. And now I just crash going back at all. Trash is saying, wait, there's a fire sword. Spoiler alert, the fire sword is not a spoiler. It's in the prologue on the ship. The demon guy has the fire sword. So it's in the prologue. I don't feel like that's a spoiler. And I tried to use vague terms for the places I was going in between in later sections so that is not giving away any information. So where would I make her dress dual colored? I may have been incorrect about being dual color, and maybe she's just going to be Ghostbane. And then I have the immense fun of trying to paint all the little bits underneath, because I like to do things the easy way. Wait, what? No, that's not how I like to do things. I like to do things the hard way. Now I got let's mix the purple in the thing. There's a glitch right now where if you hit spacebar in the beginning, your main quest line will bug out. Well, I guess it's good for me that I use a controller and I cannot hit spacebar. I think what happened is I was originally playing through the Steam Deck and thus the PC, and when it came out on PS5, it has cross saves, but I switched over to PS5, and my guess is there's some kind of buggy situation happening with that, but that is just a guess. I'm probably overthinking this beginning color. Yeah, it is not easy to kill that Cambion guy in the prologue. But basically, if he doesn't roll poorly, the Mind Flayer can help you out a lot. So you do want to, apparently the kids are calling it scum save. I don't know. I don't think that's what we used to call it. I think we just called it saving often. Which is the sucky part of the PS5, is it has a very limited number of save files that you can have. And then it'll actually just like stop saving or lecture you. And it's like, well, maybe if I hadn't been having to keep my save files so cleaned up, I'd be able to have, go back to something before this save was borked. But nope, it's borked. So when the patch came out and it did not fix the problem, it was kind of like, all right, do I just You know, no looking back. I just proceed and hope that it'll all work out. Or do I start a new character? Which I thought about, but, you know, just at this point, kind of between dice rolls and choices, and they're kind of, even if I made the exact same type of character, it would not be the same experience. It wouldn't be the same character. So I didn't like that answer. I was like, well, I'll give it a shot. If it ends up worked, I mean, I guess I'll just join the people playing multiple times. Which, I mean, I would probably do. I would just likely leave it a little while and play something else and then come back to it. Because you can only have 3 of the companion characters with you at a time. You can have a party of 4. And I've kind of focused on some at the exclusion of others for running around with it anyway. I mean, I think you get to progress all their storylines, but I might make different choices with different characters. Right now, I'm not running around with Karlak, and it makes me sad because she's my bestie. She gives very solid advice. And makes me laugh a lot. Although not quite as much as Shovel. Shovel is the best at being completely inappropriate and hilarious. Alright, does that look like all the parts? Nope. That would be a beautiful silky fabric. Probably should have picked a character that had a little more, I guess I could do a different color on her belt. A little more cloth, but who could be more suitable for a silky dress than a fancy dressed up part? And how is he doing on the drawing? He's got a way to go. All right, I'm going to pause briefly and just momentarily plug something non-Reaper. Queenie, all I was doing in BG3 was looting as much trash as possible and flirting with the Styrian and Karlak. I mean, very solid way to play, I think. But I kind of wish there was, like, a way to, like, a best friend thing. Like, I don't want to romance Karlak. I want her to be my best friend for life. So, up on my YouTube channel, I have just posted an unboxing video for this miniature Cat Daddy, which is from Shoshi's Miniatures. So this is a preview copy. If you order a real one, or like the regular run, you'll get a similar thing, but the run number will be a little different. If you were at ReaperCon, you saw this and others of Shoshi's Miniatures in the gallery, the display area for the MSP open entries, and her display was awarded best display, which is, so the display idea is taken from the historical miniature shows, and it's not really necessarily about painting or sculpting. It's your whole display. Is it attractively arranged and thematically united kind of thing? And that was the one that got picked this year. So this is a half orc, and he is called Cat Daddy for obvious reasons. So there's a little cat on his shoulder. Really, this goes to get better together than I am making it look like it does. And then there is a second cat that goes, I think it's rubbing against his leg. I have pictures of the assembled piece in the video that I put up. And I also show some of the other figures from her line, which I'm not going to unbox them, but I'll just show you So these ones I bought on previous releases. That was the first release, Wishing for a Soul. And then the second one was Nice Catch. This one sold out. The Angel is still available on her website. And then there's a third one that I let Shoshi use some of the one of my class handouts, and in exchange she sent me the third miniature as a thank you. And I had that, and I guess I put it somewhere. And then she sent me this one as a preview copy. So I did an unboxing video, not with my new lamp, because my new lamp had not arrived yet, alas. But hopefully it still looks like a decent video. All right, well, did that help, Mr. Bear, comma owl, be dry? No. All right, I think we're gonna resort to the hairdryer if I can find my hold while the sound is bad sign. So I'll be back momentarily. All right, I don't know if they're 100% dry, and I think Rael, first of all, I missed a few spots, but secondly, I think that since I decided I had to have some of that wolf's mane purple in there, the paint was a little transparent. Oh, that's probably messing it up. Gonna hit a few spots. The owlbear, I feel like I need to buy him some antiperspirant because his armpits just did not want to dry. I suspect it is very humid where I am currently because it usually is. But it just seems like extra annoyingly humid right now. And I am going to paint these each in slightly different ways. So I may have to check these parts that I'm just now seeing that I missed for a second coat on her, but I think I'll be able to work on the owlbear in the meantime. I'll have to see if I can dig up that wizard cloak because it turned out very well last time we did this experiment. I'm hoping that I can get Rael's dress to look as pretty as the wizard's cloak did. Sorry, I have no idea if I'm staying in focus or not. Oh, so Cat Daddy, if you want that, so Shashi's Minis is like a boutique company. So she does a pre-order period for a few days to see how many people are interested, and then I think she orders a little bit extra because some of the previous ones are available on the website, but not all of them. So if you are interested, the pre-order period for Cat Daddy is September 28th to October 1st, and go over to her website. There should be some information about that then, if not already. Or you can find her on Facebook and ask for more information. So I put the link to her Facebook page as well as the company page in the description of the video that I put up recently, which hopefully worked all right. Then I ended up like taking way too long to make the thumbnail image, by which I mean it doesn't look like something that should have taken that long. But I'm not exactly gifted at graphical design, I guess. So is it thoroughly dry? No. Are we going to press ahead? Probably. But I'm thinking that metallics don't always do great on a wet palette. They can get kind of weird, over thin or something. So I'm going to use this little silicone palette that I got from They do the holders. This was at ReaperCon. They had them white too. And I kept the little thing off the top of them, and now I don't know what I did with it. They do the holders that have been in like the Reaper goodie boxes and bags before. If anyone remembers that company's name, that would be very helpful for my side brain. No, this is a miniature company, Kendrick. Do I have anything else from there? Hold on. There we go. Game Envy. I still have one one of the hobby holders in the package for some reason I no longer recall. Turbo Dork. That's right. Well, why did I think it was... You're right. Why did I think it was Game Envy? It's Turbo Dork. And they were smart, and they put it on there for dumb people like me. All right. Thank you, Sir Gambit. See, now this is... You can kind of see it on the palette cam, I think. So it's got this cloudy look. That is medium. So even though I shook these up, I kind of figured this might happen, even though these are the new ones. Metallics are just really bad for separating. So I'm pretty sure that the other ones that I pulled off my shelf were definitely going to need some TLC. This one probably isn't too bad. But just to make sure. It also, because it does have kind of a color chip weirdness, probably is doing a bit of that. But I have these metal sticks, cocktail stirrers work too. But for metallics, or if you have paints that you really haven't shaken or used for a long time, stirring is going to be better because you're going to be sure to get up whatever's separated out, to start detaching it from the bottom and really make sure that it's mixed in. And shaking, even if you put little weights or balls or whatever in there, it's just never going to be as effective. I speak as someone who has maintained hundreds of bottles of paint over the years. Metallics go the fastest because that flake is heavier. So now I need a dry brush, but do I want to do one of the round ones? I don't know. I haven't done it both metallics before, so let's give it a shot. In theory, I should have something non-porous. But we'll see how it works. So I want to leave the matte paint in the deeper recesses. And because of the color in the raven feather, or another colored metallic. So if I was doing, you know, if these were meant to look like gray steel, I wouldn't mind too much to do a black wash over it, but I don't want to dull down any of the color in the metallic. So I decided it would be better to start with my dark color and then dry brush this on. And I don't know if you can see it, but I'm already seeing, you know, way more blue than I expected for looking at that. Or the swatch that I had. It definitely has a nice raven wing kind of vibe. And then there may be parts that I think should be a little more in shadow, and those I might come back in with either matte black paint, or I'll probably use blue liner, not just because, you know, blue liner. But it seems like a suitable choice for something that's kind of blue-black. I'm using a pretty light hand because I don't want to get in between all those. Julie isn't here today, or she would tell us feather anatomy words, I'm sure. Because there's like the little lines on individual feathers, as well as, you know, the separation between feathers. And I know there are terms for all those things. And I know I've even seen those terms. But I do not remember them at this time. Ooh, I like it. It does really kind of make me go, yeah, and now what am I going to do with the fur? Do not know the answer. That will be a future Beyond the Kit problem, because that's what we do beyond the kit. We figure out problems and how to solve them. Because that's what there was no space for in the Learn to Paint Kit instructions. A lecture about how to experiment, and that experimentation is how you solve the problems and whatnot. So who knows? I might have to paint this fur a couple of times before I get a color that I like. I've done it before. Would it have been smart to do a test before I did this? Absolutely. But that's not always how we do things. So I think that's looking pretty cool. Need to link to Derek's article. He had all the terms for feathers. That was a class handout, wasn't it? I don't know if he's posted. Has he posted stuff on that? Has he posted on the forums? Oh, Bob and Julie are here for some good info. Derek did put up a post. There we go. So this is actually, I thought I was grabbing the one of the Army Painter ones. So Army Painter are probably the cheapest and easy to get. There's a pack of 3. This is the biggest one. There's one that's in the middle, and then there's like a itty bitty one. Well, is it itty? I think my ittiest bittiest one is also Rosemary. But Rosemary and Company is an English brush making company, and they had some sizes in between, so I wanted to get those. So I haven't had problems shipping from England, but of course, you know, it's going to cost a little more. The pack of 3 Army Painter ones is like $20. And then I think a company called Artist Opus was among the first to make these brushes. This is what makes them unique, is it's a dome shape, And if you go back on the Reaper YouTube channel, like near the beginning of the Beyond the Kit list, I did several shows testing these brushes and traditional, like a flat style brush that is what we usually use for dry brushing, and then also some makeup brushes. Which, if you can go to a store, this is actually not a makeup brush. This is from the art store, and they called it a mini mop. But a mop is usually much bigger than this. Don't buy something online because it says mop, because you will not. You will get like, I mean, that's a small mop right there. But a lot of people use makeup brushes. They're not always domes. So you kind of have to look. If you can go in person, if you live in America, stores like Walmart and Target, and I think some of the pharmacies, you look for a brand called ELF, ELF, and that's like an inexpensive makeup brush company, and you might be able to find something in person so you know what size it is. But some of the makeup brushes I've seen, like, because I've gone through Amazon looking for makeup brushes and that are dome as well, because people can't always get some things in some places, and they're not always cheaper. Especially these are genuine goat hair, and that's part of what makes them soft and fluffy, I think. So partly what makes these work the way they do is that dome shape, so there's no edge, and you can keep things smoother. Partly it's this density, and then it's the goat hair is the other part. So a real goat hair makeup brush is no cheaper than going to buy the actual miniature brush. Babatuk is mentioning that Green Stuff World does a set of 5 for relatively cheap. Green Stuff World has some business practices that have troubled me, so I have tended not to use their stuff, although they do a bunch of cool things. Some of those cool things are things that other people did first, and there's even been at least one case where they took the thing that the other guy did and then sued him so he couldn't sell it anymore, which is like, okay, it's one thing to kind of iterate on what someone else did, because that's what Army Painter is trying to iterate on what Artist Opus did, but they made their own thing. It is a different brush, and then they didn't try to make Artist Opus not sell their version, and that's just like one of many stories that I've heard about things Green Stuff World has done that are non-optimal, shall we say. I was disappointed to discover this. They have like little leaf stamps that are pretty cool. There was something else of theirs that I'd either gotten or wanted to get. Artist Opus does a lot of great YouTube videos about how you can do amazing things with these kinds of brushes, especially on larger figures, but or scenery. They have some very cool, like, glowy effects on like walls and stuff like that, like as if there was a green light off to one side. They have pretty much mastered how you would work with these brushes. Unlike myself, I do use them. I like them for stipple strokes as well, where you kind of want to see the dots. I use that on there's a gingerbread warrior, gingerbread knight that Reaper put out. He came out at Christmas last year, but I think he's just available all the time. And a gingerbread cookie has kind of a speckly look in the dough because of all the different spices and stuff that make it super delicious. So I wanted speckles, and I have done it by hand with a fine pointed brush where I've just made 1 million little dots. But after having tried these on the show not long before I painted the gingerbread guy, I'm like, well, what if I start with one of these brushes and then just, make sure the edges and stuff are cleaned up to look the way I want. the hard way, and it worked out really well. The bot in chat is telling us about Reaper's upcoming Kickstarter for the Dungeon Dwellers role-playing game. And if you like the settings that Reaper has had for the various ReaperCons, the source book for this year, which was like a haunted city of Barrowgate, which was very cool. You can get that in the Barrowgate box, which is still available, but I see that the source book is up separately, and I thought I saw that they still had copies of the other one, the one from last year. I'm blank. I totally looked at this morning, and now I'm blanking on the words. But the source books are written in a pretty system agnostic way so that you can plop them into whatever game you may be running. And it's got like cool places and people and adventure hooks and stuff. But soon you'll be able to play them with the rules Reaper intended. So Joseph Wolf has been working hard on that. I think I heard he was going to do some... Barrowgate was this year's trash, but I swear I saw the source book for last year's con up, and that's... I can't remember where we were last year. I can't remember where I am right now, apparently. But anyway, I think I saw Joseph say that he will be running lots of games online and whatnot as the Kickstarter approaches, probably during the Kickstarter. So if you're interested in that, I would follow the Reaper Facebook page, Quindy, would you say? Maybe he's got something posted on the forums. I think he does come on the forums sometimes. Or come next time it's Reaper Live and ask them how to get in on the fun. Because he did say lots of games, so there should be room for you if you want to try it. I did not have the opportunity to do that at ReaperCon because I keep busy there, but there were a lot of games. There were, in addition to Joe, I think there were two other, Chris and I'm forgetting the third person's name, were also running games using the Dungeon Dweller system and set in Barrowgate. So there are people who can share opinions if you would like to know what more people think. Since I can talk about the setting because I copy edit the ReaperCon, the books that come out of the ReaperCons. But I cannot talk about the experience of playing the game because that is not something I do at ReaperCon. One of the reasons I can do the copy editing is because I can do that before ReaperCon, before the running around being crazy begins. But once I'm there, I'm lucky if I can get in board game or card game with my husband. All right, I think this is a pretty cool color. I'm happy with it. But now I have to decide how I want to highlight it. Quindy also recommends checking the Discord, which I, of course, forgot about because I'm a very old person who doesn't know how to Discord. Although I say that, and then, so I was doing, when I missed all those shows, I finally started doing physical therapy for my back problem. And sometimes it seemed like I would go in and there would be all these like older people who, first of all, were getting like way more strenuous exercises than I was. So I'm like, all right, these people have had like hip replacements and whatnot, and I'm just like not graduating out of the starter level band because when they tried stepping me up at first, I kind of went backwards, so I had to go back to doing the weakest, lamest exercises. But then they were also sitting around talking about how these two guys were like, oh, and I'm working on my podcast and I'm doing this and that. I'm like, okay, they're way better at technology than I am. They should come and explain to me how to do Discord because I am a fail at that. All right, well, I feel like that is enough for the initial thing. And I'm waffling about the putting matte color on. I probably will, but I don't know that I will do it now. I think I will try to do highlights first, which raises the question of highlight colors. And here's where I probably should have looked at like an actual raven before I came over here. So I'm just going to go on my phone. Yeah, I'm kind of with Pendrake. I don't understand it. Pendrake detests Discord. It's like on a forum, you have threaded messages and you can search them and it's easy to reference things. On a Discord, it's just like everybody says stuff and then it scrolls away into the void. So I don't kind of understand the point. I guess it's probably more if you like to be chatty real time, but apparently I want to be more asynchronous. Sir Gambit says you can search Discord as well. Oh, and also enjoyed Dungeon Dwellers at ReaperCon. So feel free to tell us more about your Dungeon Dwellers experience, because I totally missed out. But I'm glad to hear that it is fun. Discord is a child of IRC is a fair assessment. Okay, to be fair, back in the day, I didn't hardly do IRC either. I did do like muds and mushes and mucks and stuff, but then I don't know. I don't know why it's different to me than that, but somehow it's different to me than that. All right, Raven feathers. Apparently, if I just type Raven, I might get people. And what color people are is a totally different question for a different day. So I'm seeing some purpley. I was wondering if there might kind of be some teal in there, but I'm not sure that there is. There might just be teal in my owl feather. Oh, this one has some. So I could just use the tomb treasure, which maybe that is the logical thing to do. Or I could like make stuff up or see what other color paints I have. Blue titanium. Oh, there is some purple in here already. Titanium. Oh, see, good thing they're plastic, isn't it? I'm really tempted to do a little bit with this mermaid scale. I'm going to do a bit of both. And then we'll do the tomb treasure on the outer edges. Maybe. I don't know. On a Discord and child channels can disappear on a moderator's whim, and IRC's shortcomings were the reasons forums were created. Trash is pointing out that channels are not done away with on the Reaper Discord. Because alas, even my fellow old people seem to have abandoned. Well, not abandoned, but the traffic on the Reaper forum is way down over what it used to be. But going back to something earlier in the discussion, that is where Derek's super cool information about feathers is. And I talked to him in person, so I know some of what he was talking about. But I'm eager to go read the document because I'm sure he didn't have time to tell me all of the things he researched about feathers. So he did a class on painting feathers for ReaperCon because, and there'd been a figure or two, I think he'd been intending to paint, and it kind of pushed him. This is sometimes the fun part of doing classes, is it will push you to figure stuff out more yourself. So this one was shaken fine. I was just being overcautious. That is who I am. Except when I'm not. Quindy is going to remove some channels on the Discord. What a great idea. And I'm sure that Quindy is just joking. Especially if she's stuck on her phone. Although the Discord app is probably better than that. The Twitch app. Babatuk, like me, misses forums being the primary method of communication because every other social media has terrible archival. And I agree. I mean, you can search for something on Reaper forums and stuff from many years ago won't come up. honestly, I've linked back to some, it's like, well, I already talked very extensively about how to paint black or white or whatever this question is. I'm just going to link to the last time I wrote it all out instead of saying it again. Because I don't mind being thorough. I do mind being repetitively thorough. I don't know. Reaper Miniatures in the chat is sharing links to all of their social media, which is many things. I mean, they joke about MySpace, but I don't think they're actually there. Assuming MySpace is actually still there. I never really went on it much. I think I remember once, and this is going to be like 1992 or something. I saw something about, awards for the best web pages of the year or something. And one of them went to some MySpace page and it just like crashed as soon as you went there. Like it was so much, it was trying to do music and animations and all this stuff that's easy now, but was not then. And it just crashed my entire computer. It was like, okay, well, if that's the web page of the year, maybe I'm not going to go there. Quinn is saying nothing is ever removed on whim, but sometimes things get archived or reorganized for organization's sake, and the same thing happens on the forums. If you go to the Wolves channel, you can accept the archives Wolves and see the old channels. Hey, Gel Tip. Is there late on Twitch? I don't think there's late on Twitch. It's like Wizards. You arrived exactly when you intended. So I am working with colored metallics today. I started with the Raven Feather that was one of the ReaperCon colors. And now I'm working with Blue Titanium and Mermaid Scale, which are probably other event special colors. But if you have, like Reaper has some colored metallics that are out all the time. There's like emerald and sapphire and ruby and amethyst. And if you get that in pearl, which is like the white one, sort of metallic medium, or another company's actual metallic medium, or even just, pale platinum or silver or something, you can mix up light colors like these. You can play around with inks and metallics as well. But periodically I get questions about like, well, what is the function of these colored metallics if you don't want to paint somebody's sword a funky color? And I thought I would use Raven Feather for what it says on the box and paint some Raven Feathers. Well, okay. Iridescent owlbear feathers, obviously. Because then I also thought, well, I've done a white owlbear. Would it be fun to do a black owlbear? And everything with owlbears is fun. So the answer was yes. But I am reminded that I should probably take a look at Raelle and make sure that her base coat is done, because I also am going to try the Ghost Feather. Sir Gambit is using Tomb Treasure and Pearl to do a lightsaber sword. Ooh, that sounds pretty. Good. I can never get my dry brush so clean. Well, this turns out to be one that I had not used previously. I did not mean to pick up one that I hadn't used previously. The nice thing about these domed ones in dry brushing is, you're not intending to get paint down into the ferrule, which is where it's hard to get paint out of. But also, I recommend this stuff. So when I finish up the show, and dry brushes are the ones that I will spend the most time cleaning. My fancy sable brushes are treated with much more care. They don't go through the same kind of tough work. So I clean them now and then, but it is now and then. I will pretty much clean brushes that I'm doing this kind of thing with every time. And this is what I like. This stuff is the bomb. But Right, now let's try some of the... I don't think I put that lighter blue on his other wing, but I'm impatient and want to see if it works having kind of the two colors. So this is like some piece of packing sponge, and its main function is being non-porous, so I don't take too much moisture out of the brush. I'm trying to just put this in selected areas to hopefully increase the illusion of an iridescent shimmer type of effect. I honestly do not know that I am seeing a huge difference between doing the green and the blue. So I hadn't done any blue on this one yet. Let's go do just some green on there and see what we think of that. Yeah, I don't know if it makes a huge difference. I'll probably still go ahead and put some of the blue on this side. It may be something that is more obvious in some lighting than others. I should catch these little edges on this side. Gotta emphasize the smackdown that is about to happen. Which is the move that I enjoy doing as a druid in Baldur's Gate 3. Bam! I'm not saying it's always like super effective, it's just always super fun. Okay, don't know that I did any of the lighter colors on the feather ruff here. Let's do a bit of that. I definitely want his ruff to be fancy too. It's interesting. Some of the feathers look kind of different levels of shiny on camera compared to my eyeballs. But I guess this is true of non-metallic things as well. I don't think I did any additional stuff to the underside of this wing. So before I proceed any further, I will look into that. And just a little bit of the green, and then I'll catch up on chat because I think you guys are talking about something I enjoy as a topic. Let's see. Quindy says, was the snow one used on Reaper Errant Trashorama, or am I misremembering? So, because Trash had done a brown owlbear and a snow one, and then forgot, did a brown one, did another brown one, and painted a lot of the stuff that was used on Reaper Errant en masse, so may not remember. And at a certain point, if you've painted enough, like even just over time, you don't, like, I was going through some old folders because Ron was like, if you want, double check that all the pictures you've ever sent me are up online. So I'm like, okay. And I'm like, oh, well, yeah, this. I don't know. I didn't even remember this. That was happening a bunch because even though I paint nowhere near the kind of volume that trash does, eventually age will have a similar effect. Maybe Rhonda will remember if we fought a snowy owlbear. I don't feel like we fought a snowy owlbear, but I'm also very forgetful. We did fight things that wanted to kick our butts, so certainly possible. Geltip can see the green when the light hits at a certain angle, which is cool. Maybe I should see if I have a lighter green. I don't think I do. That is very similar, but we can make it lighter through the magic of pearl white. Pendrake misses Reaper Errant, and I really do too. We got to at least see Frank at ReaperCon. He came up and was doing the behind the scenes stream stuff, so that was very nice. But yeah, I miss getting to role playing and hang out with my friends. Hey, it's Cinda. Raiding with a party of 21. Welcome, Raiders. So Reaper Errant is a role-playing game that some of the Reaper painters and sculptors played for quite a while, but unfortunately the DM, who did a marvelous job running things and had these full table sets and a lot of miniatures painted by Trash and other folks, has had to go on hiatus, so we haven't been able to play in quite a while, and we're just kind of reminiscing and talking about some of the monsters that people painted while I work on this Raven Iridescent Feather Owlbear, because I needed something with wings, and that's what I ended up with. That's true. If you aren't familiar with the story, Kay's Journal will tell you the story of Reaper Errant and our continuing adventures from the one character who has a lick of common sense. So it's amusing on that front too, because sometimes the journal is a commentary on the rest of us doing less than wise things. All right, finally we get a bottle where, despite having done maintenance not that long ago, we've got a bit of a situation. So it's gooped up here in the dropper. It's kind of plugged up on the neck. This is something that happens with matte paints as well. And it's definitely a little goopy, but I suspect that the stuff down at the bottom is fine. So it's goopy enough up here that I don't, like, this stuff is dried. I don't want to put this back into the bottle and stir it around. I want to get rid of it. Garbage pail off to the side, and this is why I have the stir stick, because now I want to be able to get down into the bottom of the bottle and make sure that it's not gunky there. And I can add some water. I don't paint with distilled water or anything like that, but I go ahead and take the trouble to have a bottle for adding to paint pots, so that I'm adding the minimum of weirdness directly to a paint pot. And did I did not get all the goop out of here. Metallics will goop up the fastest because of the metal flake. But the same exact thing happens with matte paints too. And I run through all my bottles and do something like this every couple of years, at least in an ideal scenario. It's probably been just long enough since I did the last one when it's time to circle back around and do it again. Or at least to do it to my stash. It has been a good few years since I did my stash bottles that are not, my out of print colors that are in a different room. What I was adding, this is just water. This is pearl white, which is is it metallic flake? I don't know. That's what it looks like. So it's shimmery white, but it's a color that I can use to lighten up the other metallics. So essentially it's white for metallics. I think Vallejo's Airbrush Medium is a similar idea. They are different, so it's worth testing them both. Or if you have something like Shining Armor or Mithril, I actually feel like maybe I want to use the Shining Armor. And then that's Bright Silver. These are very old bottles, clearly. I think the new labels are better, but I haven't replaced these in some time. So I think I'll try both. I'll try the Shine Metallic and the Pearl, and at least in the palette, and see if we think there's much of a difference. And yeah, of course it did a little bit too. Quindy is linking to Pearl White, and this color should also be linkable. And that's interesting. It just kind of, it's totally chunked. So it's either liquid or dried. That's very interesting. I can never figure out how paints are going to go weird. But, oh, I didn't actually stir stick that one, did I? Because regardless of what's happening on the tip, what's important is also what's happening down here. And no amount of shaking or agitators or whatever will replace doing what I just did. I've tested this repeatedly on hundreds of bottles of paint, so I feel confident. So when I say do paint maintenance, I do paint maintenance on like upwards of 800 bottles of paint. It takes a hot minute, but it's worth it. Gel Tip was looking at iridescent medium. That is worth playing with as well. I tend to prefer products made for miniatures for anything like metallic or iridescent or whatnot, on the theory that they're going to make sure the flake is nice and fine. Where if you're developing your product for canvas painters, they may not care. Like they may be doing stuff like metallics because there's a bit of texture or whatever. So we kind of have a different, we're looking at things at a different scale than a canvas painter. Well, I actually technically don't need to do it with the blue. That's right, I was doing it with the green because we have the Tomb Treasure for the blue. So I was just doing the two different ones. But now I can't remember if I really did two different ones. Oh my goodness. The good news is I have another one of these palettes. So it'll give you, you know, a lighter version of the metallic to do highlights with that's still just as shiny if you use some kind of, you know, silver or pearl or something like that. So adding matte paints to make metallics darker to use in the shadows isn't bad because, you know, matte in the shadows is usually helpful. But you don't want to do it where you're supposed to have the highest reflections. Even for gold, I will often add just a little bit of silver to get a highlight for gold instead of something else. If it's just a little in a few places, it doesn't take away from the goldenness of the gold. Now I need to be careful because this could be a lot lighter. And I do still want it to stay raveny. Like I may need to come back with a bit of matte paint and add some shadows. I think it's still fairly dark. I think it kind of just looks lighter a bit because his big bulky body is still just gray. Definitely a Corbin owlbear. My cat Corbin is not petite. He's a big boy cat. Sometimes when I'm watching TV, I have a easy chair and I put the footrest up, and then he'll come and sit in between my legs and he rests my head on one leg, and eventually my leg goes to sleep. So I've learned how to like flip him real quick so that his head goes on the other leg and that leg can get a break. And he's just kind of like, wait, what just happened? But he will usually stay despite the flipping. Because at first you're like, oh, it's not so bad. But then eventually your leg is numb and you're like, no, this can't be good for my circulation. All right, so that's a little more green. Quindy LaRue. I don't think pearl white is iridescent. I think it's just shiny white, unless I'm misremembering. Yeah, I don't think there's really a truly iridescent paint. I mean, maybe Raven Feather is the first one. I remember in experimenting with it, we had like a tester bottle. But I think either they couldn't get the supplies in the bulk that they needed, or they would have to sell it at a price point that wasn't reasonable. But Reaper, this Raven Feather is the closest Reaper has come to like a color shifting kind of paint, I think. And I don't know that I'd call it that. I'd say that there's the non-metallic part and the metallic part are different colors or something like that, I think, is what's happening there. But I don't know for sure. I suggested it, but I didn't mix it, so I don't know what the secret sauce was for making that happen. And then Tomb Treasure is the other paint that came out this year. I'm going to be extra sparing with that. In fact, I wonder if I even want a more directable brush. Maybe I just want to use my round brush so I can just touch it to places. Oh, something really in there. And I just swatched these out for you all like 2 weeks ago, I think. It has that feeling where if you keep pressing, you're going to make a disaster. So I'm not going to keep pressing. But we've all been there, I think, right? We've all been like, oh, if I just squeeze a little bit harder. And then Pendrake says it's iridescent, not iridescent. And that is funny. All right, so this is what it looks like dry, the Tomb Treasure. All right, that wasn't very long, because since it's a metallic, you got to kind of do the different lighting thing, which is what's so nice about video for swatches of metallic colors compared to trying to take a photograph of them, which is frustrating and impossible. I did take a photograph of those, and it's just terrible. They all look way lighter than they actually are. And that is the reason a lot of painters start doing non-metallic metal is for photographing. It's less about, like, you can take as much time with metallics and make them look awesome and stuff. There's no superiority in end result between one and the other, in my opinion. But photographing one over the other is a whole other situation. Some weird to reach places. Don't want to go too nuts with the light color. I do like it though. Has the lighter color for this effect. So I think I'm pretty happy with that. If I keep messing it, it's not gonna be dark anymore. And I'm not strongly feeling like I need to go in and add matte paint anywhere. I may change my mind upon reflection, but I think I'm pretty happy with how he is. So let's take a look at Rael. Is anyone else thinking Rydell from Greece? Because I'm just every time I say Rael, I think that's what I'm being reminded of. My entire area is a disaster now. Just like when I paint, not on camera. So that definitely has to get washed later. Okay, so I started Rael with this dark color that I'm just going to double check. There were a few places where I had missed initially. So I'm just going to quickly add a little bit of those and then start on not those sections. Because this is a pretty saturated color, it is on the more transparent side. But I just want to have some kind of base, excuse me, for the ghost vein, which is this color in the middle. So this I'm going to be using more as, you know, like it's a silk or satin dress rather than some kind of, I thought about doing a bug too, like an iridescent bug shell, because I did have a few miniatures that were, there was like a giant beetle and there was something that's probably more of a sea creature or something, and that still might be fun. But since I'm currently kind of obsessed with owlbears, I picked the owlbear instead. You know, like you get. Quindy is on the phone with tech support. And Pendrake is wondering if that's for Twitch or something else. So I know I said they're not great on the wet palette. Here we are. It's fine. I am going to, for this initial coat, mix in a little brush on sealer. So I'm actually using the one that has some matting agent in it. Should I? I was going to paint this the other way, wasn't I? I wasn't going to go up from dark because that other one is up from dark. So I'm just going to paint the whole thing with the ghost vein and then come back in with matte colors into the shadows. And then do some highlights, probably also with the, was it pearl? There's pearl white. If you have Sophie Silver, that was another special event color. That's another one you could try mixing your own metallic highlights. Oh, that's a cool color. I like that. I mean, because there's so many purples I don't like. Or magenta-y. I don't think of purple and magenta is the same color. I know some people call that purple, but red purple is red violet, I guess. But this is just an awesome color for a bard outfit, I think. Grab some attention as you're wandering the inn, waiting for people to toss you those coins. Oh, I'm not being very in focus, am I? It was easier with the big burly owlbear, I think. There's bound to be some part of him that was in focus. I'll figure that out later. Or I will email Bobby and say, what the heck is that? At least, I think this one's Bobby. Because I've done that before. I've been like, all right, Bobby. What were you thinking about that this material should be? And sometimes he's like, whatever. Like, okay. Good talk. not worrying too much about getting into the crevices or over the edges because those are just going to get painted with matte paint anyway, so why bother? But I will do just a little there in case. Oh, I like this color. Hey, the Mad Tea Bagger. And this is another one, it's like I suggested, you know, like a more magenta-y metallic, but I didn't mix this up or anything. The wizards, the paint wizards at Reaper came up with that. And it took some doing to get it to be more saturated and magenta-y. So let's see, that was my matte color. But maybe I'll do the highlights first, just for funsies. Carrie Michael Cosby loves this purple a lot. One of my Rocky Dragons is getting slathered in it for sure. Ooh, that might be pretty cool. So this time for sure I will do one of each, and we'll see what it looks like. So pearl white, put some over here, and shining mithril, I'll put that over here. And just like I layer with regular paint, I want to layer with this. And I do probably want to make it a little less opaque, just like I would with regular layering. So I will go ahead and use the gloss sealer. Gray Mouser, I just got here. Which purple has, Reaper has a lot of nice purples. So this is one of the ReaperCon metallic colors, Ghost Vein. And I was previously playing with one of the other colors, Raven Feather, and added some additional things on top to make more shiny featherness. But if you don't have some of the, I have been using some special edition colors that you may or may not be able to get anymore. But even if you don't have those, you can play around with like these lighter colors, like the mithril and the pearl and inks. You can play around with the colored metallics that are out all the time and inks, and then using those other colors to lighten them up. There's ways to do similar things at home, even if you don't have those exact colors. That's interesting. It goes more purple when it gets lightened up. But let's add some of that. And then which side do I like better? I think I like whatever side that was. I'm going to say it was the pearl. I think I like the mithril better for when we were mixing the green. I think I like the pearl better on this one. And even if you just have like a light silver, so this is bright silver, you can do a similar making highlights for your metallics deal with that. And her dress is a bit of a smaller area than a giant owlbear, so I'm going to look for a decent brush. And I'm going to try to be remotely in focus. And then my goal is to hit the areas that would be receiving more light, just as if I was doing this with you know, regular matte paints. So the big difference in this, if I'm trying to paint shaded metallics, demi-metallics, people call it different things, is I want to use brighter metallics on the lighter spots where more light would be hitting, and I want to use matte paints on the areas I wish to appear more shadowed. And then they will appear more shadowed regardless of, what orientation the figure is in. And the lighter areas should successfully reflect more light regardless of the orientation the figure is in. And thus I will have, in theory, imposed my artistic will on it, just as I would have with matte paints or non-metallic metals. If you were here for the last time I did this, it worked great on, there was a light mauve-ish purple that I used on a wizard's cloak, and that turned out very nicely. But I tried doing, is his name really Disco Stew? There's a figure, I feel like his name really is Disco Stew, but I could be wrong, in the Chronoscope line. So he's got like an afro and this big puffy 70s shirt, and I tried giving him like an orangey peachy shirt. And the color I mixed for this stage, the highlights, I did not pick the right colors, because it's very, as you turn it, you can see where the highlights are. Like, they're very, it doesn't look natural, like I'm trying to do here. So it's not necessarily going to work with every combination of colors, but it can be made to work. That's just a case where I probably needed to, test a little more or something. I don't make swatches because I just memorize paint, so there's that. Let's see. Oh, I went caught up a little. The Amazon lady brought the Mad Teabagger a bunch of paint and stuff, but my first minis won't be here until tomorrow. I want to paint. Oh gosh, that's hard to wait. When you've got like some of the stuff but not all of the stuff. Oh, the agony. Do you have like any old Green Army men or something out of a, little plastic out of a vending machine? You can paint a lot of different things that don't have to be official miniatures, just to warm up before your good stuff gets here tomorrow. Carrie Michael Cosby adopted Rhonda's method of swatching on the side of the bottles. It works well for me too. I think what were some real metallics or true metallics, TMM. I think shaded metallics is probably a good phrase, because it conveys that the shading is where you're doing the different thing a little bit. Zachariah, my OCD cannot swatch on the bottles yet, at least. Yeah, my OCD flares in different areas, so I didn't have problems with that. But it's absolutely not the only way to swatch. I mean, you can swatch in a book, you can swatch like trading cards or something else that you can put on ring binders so that you can make it portable. You can pull and the nice thing about having the swatch is not on the bottles if you have it on paper or something like, I got acrylic nails. So they make these like fake nails on a stick that the salons use to swatch the nail polishes, because they have a very similar situation. Because someone's like, I want purple. And I was like, okay, well, we've got like 20 purples. So which of these purples do you like? And I liked the idea of doing that. It just, I was never going to put in the work. But it's nice because you can kind of pull out the colors you're looking at for a color scheme and hold them together and see how they look. And that's not quite as convenient to do with the on the bottle method. I'm not 100% sure if these highlights are chunkier than I think they are, but so far I think I'm fairly happy with it. I don't think it's a full Disco Stew situation. I'm like doing a terrible job of being in focus on it. For those who came in late, I have a different lamp today. My red grass Kickstarter lamp arrived right before, an hour or so before I was going to start filming. So I'm like, of course we should change things and risk terrible technical problems. So I'm hoping that the lighting is better, even if I'm no better at managing to stay in focus. And because you get some natural reflection, I feel like I really don't want to go too crazy with the highlights as much as I am always advocating for contrast. I'll under the red. Last week I made bits that glue on top of Reaper bottle caps with a texture where I can see dried color, opacity, and flow from the top. Pendrake suggests MSM, matte shaded metallics. That's got a ring to it too. Queenie, tempting the tech gremlins is always fun. Yes, I will not stop doing it. So my thing about bottle tops, and I have swatched and I used to have a bottle that I'd done it to, but I think I used that one up. No, I just kept the cap here. So for something that's meant to be like a wash or like contrast paints or whatever, seeing how it reacts on texture is part of the deal. So I've done stuff like that before. But just doing this, it's just not enough surface area for me to really see the color. With my old eyes, at least. And then the other thing I do on my swatches is there's an area where it's thinned down so I can see the undertone, which doesn't matter much there. But if we look at the paper one I did, you can see the other colors in the raven feather better when it's thinned down. And that part has to come in very useful. So as much as it did take a minute to do this swatching thing, I'm not going to lie. But now when I go up to my shelves, I can, really see the color, even if my lighting over where the paint isn't totally amazing. And I can pick up two paints and compare them and go, okay, no, this one is too saturated for what I want to do. This one isn't saturated enough, that kind of thing. So I have had zero regrets. Like, I would say it's almost wet palette level of change your life to have painted samples of all your colors and know what color they actually are when they dry and what color they are if you thin them down. So I think I'm going to leave it there as far as highlights, but then come back here to my shadow color, which I will also have to make darker, I think. The idea is you draw the paint out so it doesn't fully cover, so you get an idea of what it would be like for coverage as well. Yeah, so I'll do, this is me trying to apply like as heavy a coat as I can to get, the mass tone. This is a single stroke with straight out of the bottle so I can see the opacity, which here you can see is pretty low. Let's see if I have another color. I mean, it's black, but it's very opaque. And then I thin it out with water, or in the case of doing it on the labels, I use the brush on sealer or matte medium or whatever you want to do to make sure it sticks. When I do it on paper, it's just water. Valander has a picture of his 10 millimeter wide bottle cap swatching surface method at the Hobby General on the Reaper Discord, which I'll try to remember to go look at, but as we were discussing earlier in the show, I suck at Discord. I suck at being in focus as well. I don't know why it fights me so hard on the smaller minis. So this mini mix here is not significantly different in value to the actual metallic color. So really this is just taking down the shine. I will need to mix a darker color if I want to have deeper shadows, which I kind of expected, but I'm just mentioning to explain my thought process. Let's see if I can move this fancy new light a little bit. All right, now I will get my buddy, maybe. Oh no, if I've lost blue liner, how am I gonna live? How will I live? I'm sure I put it someplace very sensible before we began. And yeah, that happened. I know I had it out here. Because I like hardly ever even bother to put it away. Oh, I bet it is in another castle. So, we're just going to use black. Even though I hardly ever do that. Use this dragon black though because it's a little cooler. Which you cannot, I can't show you on my pure black. Actually, I have the old bottle. Oh, and I have an old bottle of blue liner that I bet has just a tiny little drop in. So that's the kind of thing you can start seeing when you're thinning the paint out. So is there a huge difference between these? No. This is very slightly cooler than this. And then that's got the little bit of blue going on. But if you look just at the top section, if you just painted them out plain, they all look the same because they're so dark. And then let's go ahead and just add solid black into the mix. And there really is a difference. Is it slight? Is everyone going to care? No, but there is a difference between each of these blacks. And then you get a color like Nightmare Black. When you thin that down, that's like way brighter than you think it is. Just looking at it straight out of the bottle. Let's see. You guys are chatty today. This is great. Any chance of putting the pictures on the forum? Pendrake is wondering if Alan would be willing to do that. Blue liner, come back to us. Yeah, I know. I have a spare bottle somewhere too, because I'm like, nope, if I ever lose my blue liner or I run out in the middle of a project, it would be a disaster. Grey Mouser loves Nightmare Black. And I end up rarely using it because I tend to like, or I tend to have more success using less saturated colors in my shadows. I just want to feather the edge a little. So this, when we talk about contrast, this is typically the kind of contrast that miniature painters talk about, which is the contrast between highlights and shadows. And we're also typically thinking of it as, you know, contrast of a darker thing to a lighter thing. And all of those things are true and important. But contrast is really like a larger, it's just difference. And there's a variety of ways you can use it in painting. And there's a variety of different kinds of contrast. So what we're actually doing when you do, what was it? RMN. Now, Pendrake came up with the cool acronym, and because I'm terrible at acronyms, I've forgotten it already. But when you do something like shaded metallics, where I'm using a matte paint in the shadows and a shiny paint in the midtones and highlights, I'm using contrast of finish. So I'm using differences in the finish of the paints, the way that our eyes perceive those two types of paints. And you'll see people that use satin paints to paint something like leather, so that you get a little bit of that sheen that leather has in real life, along with whatever, brown or other color you are using for your leather. Now, I weirdly, if it's not metallic, I want everything to be super matte, but that's one of those ways that there's many different ways to paint. I'm just going to add just a little bit of that original shadow to some of these secondary wrinkles, because I think that is worth playing with the difference in finish again. And then you're doing a similar thing if you add, like, you paint gloss on eyeballs, or you add like shiny spit strings off the mouth of a monster. You're playing with that contrast of the matte versus shiny and slimy. In the chat, there is a link to the 26 quarterly community contest. If we have anyone who's new here today, in the quarterly contest, everybody paints the same figure, which I do not recall the name of what the figure is, but if you follow that link, it will, I'm sure, show you a picture. And then you submit that, and people vote on it, and I think there's three winners. And so they get gift certificates to the Reaper store, and then the person who gets the most votes gets to pick the miniature on the next round. And it's just, I encourage it. It'll help you, push yourself to finish a miniature. But even if you don't want to paint, go and look at the results, because it, as Zachariah is saying, it's an opportunity for creativity. It's just really cool seeing how differently people interpret the same miniature, with color schemes, personalities, how they take the picture. It's just super fun to see that, and it gives you an opportunity to apples to apples look at stuff like color schemes and contrast and things like that that are often hard for us to judge when you're looking at two different miniatures, and they're different sizes, and they're different kinds of characters, and they're different color schemes. And I tell you that, hey, this one has really good contrast compared to this one. I mean, this is obviously a very theoretical example because they're pretty much the same. But you may not be able to visualize, okay, what's the actual difference? Where if you go look at miniatures that are the same figure but painted in different ways, you can more easily identify the impact of different choices. Hey, Jamie Daggers, and a party of 71. Wow. Hello, Raiders. I'm working on painting different kinds of colored metallics today. So we did raven feather, owlbear, because, okay. And now I'm doing like a silk dress on this bard. And the mini for the 26 quarterly community contest is Cars Carvel the Lich. Oh, so we should be seeing lots of imaginative versions of grossness and whatnot, and evil undead creepiness. So the quarterly contest, we were just talking about that, is a contest. It's like a Reaper fan contest where everybody paints the same miniature, and you have like a certain amount of time, which I'm going to guess is like 2 or 3 months if it's quarterly. Since it's quarterly, I should say. And then the miniatures all go up for votes and general admiring. And the top 3 winners and an honorable mention. The top 3 winners at least get gift certificates. I do not know if the honorable mention gets a gift certificate. And it's just a really cool way to see different interpretations and color schemes and whatnot of the same figure. But the overall winner picks the miniature for the next round. Is probably the coolest part of winning. I mean, nothing wrong with some gift certificates, But choosing people's destiny is also very cool. So this isn't quite pure blue liner, but it's pretty close. It's just got a little bit of that purple in. If you look at silk and satin and very reflective fabrics, you will find that there is a very high range of contrast. So they're very light colored in places and they're very dark colored in places. So I'm trying to use the metallic paint, which I've lightened up a little bit. This was the original starting color, and I made some lighter mixes to create the lighter areas. And then I'm adding shadows with matte paints so that they are even more shadowy. Just going to feather that out a little. Which that feathering thing is easier to do when you're painting the shadows over the metallics, I think. And then I will probably use pure blue liner for the actual lining of where the objects are meeting, you know, where her dress is meeting the sash and under the guitar or lute, whatever it is, and stuff like that. But I'm just gonna check whether we're at time, and I think we are. So I will probably just leave it here for today. I'm happy I got to test that color and see how it looks, because I often don't paint metallics because I'm painting for photographs. So it's fun to get to do it with you all. So many of the folks that Jamie Daggers teaches have started and still love Reaper Minis. And I'm pretty sure that, yeah, if you scroll back just a little, you'll see a shout out where you can follow a link to Jamie Daggers' Twitch if you want to check out what they're working on. And now, my apologies to the raiders, but now we're going to go raiding because my show goes till 5 and or 6. 4 Reaper time. I'm in Eastern, Reaper's in Central, and I get the times all mixed up. But we're done one way or the other. But Quindy is going to find us a raid, assuming that this is possible to do when she's stuck on mobile Twitch on the phone. And she will find someone else who is doing something, some fun hobby things or something hobby adjacent. And we'll be able to enjoy that. I'll just switch back to this view for a minute. So there's the red grass lamp again, the new lamp. I'll turn it off so it's not glaring in your eyes. And hopefully that was providing more illumination and making it easier to see the miniature on those rare occasions when I was getting into the focal range. It was easier with the big guy. Let's see, is he still kind of... Ooh, we can still see the metallics of it, I think. Just in regular old crummy lighting. Okay, well, to be fair, I have quite a bit of lighting, whereas the smaller figure is a little harder to see the metallics in the regular lighting on just a webcam. Greymouser says it's 6 in Atlantic time right now. Oh, I'm doomed on the time front. Necromitron painting, Dyson's logos is always drawing a map. He does that in his sleep. Quindy thought the owlbear looked good. So I'll just, we're going to go raid Jarrett's Terrain Minis. So please say hi and share the Reaper love. And I'll see you here next week at 2 p.m. Central to 4 p.m. Central. And just put it in Google to figure out the time zones from there, because I'm lucky I got that far. So I'll see you all next week. Thanks for joining me.